Hi, this is Henry, and my musical is Assassins, which is based on a book by John Weidman and music by Stephen Sondheim. It debuted on Broadway in 2004, and it's based on the lives of several assassins you can see here, who are assassinated or attempted to assassinate a U.S. president. And in the musical, these stories are partially historical facts and partially imagined by the creators, especially Sondheim, so they're fiction. And there's also the character of the balladeer, who in the casting call is described as the voice of America, and will often oppose the assassins and stand more for the American dream, American patriotism, whereas they're obviously against it, killing a president. And so, yeah, my video is going to be centered around the balladeer and how he can be interpreted in the show. Alright, so the final assassin in the show is Lee Harvey Oswald, who is known for assassinating JFK. And in the 2004 version that I studied, Neil Patrick Harris plays both the balladeer and Oswald. And though it's not stated that these characters could be the same, it could be interpreted because of this. And the question that I ask here is, if the balladeer represents a patriotic America that is against these assassins, and the balladeer is the same as Lee Harvey Oswald, how could the balladeer simultaneously be against it and then become an assassin himself? How is that possible? And one interpretation of this is that the characters are the same, and as time passes throughout the show, the balladeer becomes Oswald, only to join him in the end with the rest of the assassins. And this is supported by the fact that Oswald was a patriot himself, as he served in the Marines, but in the Ballad of Oswald, which is the song here, Oswald has become depressed, poor, estranged from his wife and kids, and suddenly he's no longer loved by anyone, not even his own country, even though he's a veteran. And so he thinks that taking his own life will make someone understand him, make someone love him again. And he ends up being convinced by these other assassin characters to kill the president, as they hope that he can finally accomplish what they have failed, which would be to represent the voiceless in America and that have been suffering for hundreds of years. They hope that Oswald's act will bring recognition that something must change, since they failed to do this themselves through their assassinations or attempted. This is also a solution for Oswald because American history will remember his name forever, and all of a sudden he'll get the attention that he's craving and trying to garner through committing suicide. While in the Marines before, Oswald serves as the balladeer in this interpretation, who's kind of a puppet of American idealism and acts like he is better than the assassins, possibly because he's serving his country and feels proud of that. Later, America has abandoned Oswald in the Ballad of Oswald, and this leads him to recognize the value of the assassins through their goals. And now it is Oswald's turn to achieve these goals, changing America forever through an assassination that will change the country for the better, by drawing attention to people like him, those who have struggled in the dark, and shed some light on them, people with mental health problems, immigrants, veterans, members of the LGBTQ community. That's who these assassins are. They're all different members of different groups that haven't been treated fairly by their country. And he's trying to shed some light on them through a devastating action. But as we know now, Oswald is remembered the same as the rest of the assassins. He's nothing more than his actions and basically a villain of American history. And this takes me to the second interpretation, which is actually based on a recent performance of Assassins in the Arden Theater in Philadelphia. My family went to it, and they had their own interpretation of the Balladeer. He was still in support of the American dream, but with a more serious tone that was similar to the Assassins. In the 2004 version, the Balladeer is singing folk songs. He's more lighthearted. He's even poking fun of the Assassins at times, not in this one. And then when the Balladeer turns into Oswald, the transition makes more sense because he's essentially the same as the Assassins throughout the show, except more patriotic. In this version, the Balladeer songs are not folky, as I said before, and instead of buying a gun, the Balladeer suggests things such as winning the lottery or working hard, different capitalist, propaganda that he's spinning to them. And and then when he loses the love of his country and his family as a veteran, it's natural for him to be able to empathize with the Assassins because he's essentially become one of them. And personally, if you can't tell, I like this interpretation more because I think it's more understandable and even predictable when the Balladeer becomes Oswald. His character's actions, dress, and tone don't change when there's a transition. In the other version, I think it feels kind of stark, kind of odd that they would be the same, just from an acting standpoint. And then it's still not explicitly said whether or not he is Oswald, but it's definitely implied, I'd say, even more than the 04 version. And in my opinion, both versions depict the Balladeer and Oswald as being the same, but this version put on by the Arden does so in a clear way that deepens and strengthens the commentary of the show on the American dream and capitalism, which is really the core of the show. And so to add this layer that the Arden did to make it, very clear that Oswald and the Balladeer are likely the same person, I think really strengthens and reinforces that commentary, which is why I like it more. That's about it. And thank you. That's the end.